Hello, happy St. Patty's Day. I apologize. I am late. I am not known to be early, but I apologize for sometimes being late. I hope you guys are all well and enjoying your St. Patrick's Day and happy 1 year pandemic. I know that a lot of people wouldn't really be celebrating that, but I feel like there's lots to be appreciative for as well. Hi, Tyler, how are you? Obviously, a lot of people are more appreciative of their families and their time together, like loved ones and having dinners with them and what have you, and not having to be on the road so much and working from home. I know that I've definitely seen a lot more of Canada than I normally have. A lot of people are going east, going west, going north. They're just going hiking, getting outside, going to the beach, etc., and are just more appreciative of their health. Hello, Justin. How are you? Hope you're well and excited for the upcoming wedding. Hi, Melanie. How are you? Hope all's well with you and Ryan. And you are, I don't remember how many years you've been together. I want to say 20. Happy live, Scotty. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I have green on. I don't know if anybody else has green on. Oops, I just hit the table. So I'm going to do my normal today. So I'm going to do real estate updates. I'm also going to answer your guys' questions. So feel free to write it in the chat as well as some happy news. So we're going to start with a question first. And the first question comes from Rob in Oro. And what does Rob say? Rob asks, I saw a house listed in, I can't even speak, in Oro for 1.599, and it's not even on the water, it's across from the water. Is this market actually that crazy to get those kind of prices? If so, I'm selling and moving somewhere hot. Thank you, Rob, for asking. I believe I know the one you're talking about. It's kind of like a bungalow, but it's got a triple car garage underneath. If so, that one's been listed just about a week and it doesn't have any offers on it. So whether it's going to go for that or not, I don't know. It's not actually that big of square footage, but it does have an elevator. So if somebody wanted a triple car garage and an elevator, which is obviously not common in general, then they can do that. And you can obviously see the water from the second floor, which is actually the only floor just because the garage is below. So maybe people, come up from Toronto and they think that's amazing. And then you being more local think that it's kind of out to lunch and crazy. So whether it's going to sell for that or not, I don't know. There was one on the 9th line that went over 1.7. So it doesn't mean that non-waterfront properties don't go for high. They do. That other one was much larger square footage, mind you. So it just kind of depends on everything: square footage, land size, finishings, how old it is, etc. But it could sell for sure. Thank you for asking, though. And then first piece of news, I feel like everybody has kind of gone to Kawartha Dairy or Dairy Queen during the pandemic. I know I live walking distance to the pandemic, to Dairy Queen. And so basically where was it? I want to say Iowa, Minnesota. In Minnesota, a guy went through Dairy Queen and he said, I want to pay for the people's, order behind me. And the girl said, okay, and rang it in. And then those people came up and she told them, so they said, oh, this man above you or in front of you just paid for it. Do you want to pay for the people behind you? So they're like, okay, why did he do that? So then they paid for the people behind them. And basically they just kept asking each car if they wanted to pay for the people behind them, that the people ahead of them had paid for it. And it ended up going on for over 3.5 days. And there was over 900 cars. So I just feel like paying it forward and being nice to somebody can make somebody else's day and just spread to a bigger, obviously, audience and that many more people, whether it's at a drive-thru or just doing something nice, holding the door open for somebody or helping somebody. I just feel like paying it forward is always a good thing to do. So I liked that story in Minnesota. The next question comes from Connie in Minising. Connie and Minising said, I want to nominate somebody for the $2,500 giveaway, but don't want their story shared. Is that possible? Thank you, Connie, for asking. To be honest, we don't share anybody's story. If, for example, the last month you saw we said she has 6 kids, she allowed us to say that, but we didn't tell anything else. Just you don't know anything of any of the other prior winners that have won, so we don't ever tell their story. We have had people ask, though, if they could not be surprised live and just go there. And unfortunately, we don't do that. We do it live. So they do, they are on camera and so forth. So they're on camera, but we don't tell their story. So feel free to nominate whoever you like for April 1st giveaway. And thank you for asking. The next thing is what you've been doing during the pandemic. So obviously it's been a year today, and they did a new survey of 2,000 people, and what was it? 52% of people had volunteered for the first time that they had never volunteered before the pandemic. So 52% of people had volunteered. 35% said they delivered food to some sort of an essential worker. 23% helped like an elderly neighbor or a friend or what have you maintain their home, whether they did their grass or their snow, or they helped them like with some plumbing or electrical, etc. 20% of people volunteered who had already previously volunteered before the pandemic. And 35% said they knew like a friend or a family member that was going through a hard time. So it touched home to them. So that's why they volunteered, to help, somebody that they knew. And 17% of people said they did it because one of their friends was volunteering. So they copied their friends, which it's good. At least they're copying their friends doing good things. So I like that. And 73% of people that are volunteering said that they feel that it's more fulfilling than just writing a check to somebody. So that was interesting as well. I'm sure the organizations and nonprofits appreciate regardless, but for sure, like getting in there and seeing it firsthand, I definitely can see the benefits in that. The next question comes from Todd in Washago. So Todd asks, I bought in 2012 and I want to sell this or next month. Do you think it's best to rent for a bit and buy in the fall when the markets have softened? Thank you, Todd, for asking. So they're expecting Canada in general to go up over 16% this year, let alone your neighborhood. And I'll tell you later when I do the real estate updates how much Barrie has gone up. So to say if it's going to go down, then like obviously as we get more inventory, it adjusts a bit, but they're still expecting all of 2021 to be a seller's market. And there's supposed to be over 400,000 people every single year for the next 3 years immigrating to Canada. So they're just thinking the amount of supply that is needed and then the amount that the construction, can build just doesn't line up. So they still think there's going to be a lack of supply for a long time. And they're not expecting to put the interest rates up till 2023. So, I don't have a crystal ball and I can't say who's going to list their house and who is not. But they're not thinking that it's going to do that. And the odd economist has said if there is a blip, it'll be a short blip. So let's just say somebody bought a house for 7. It might be worth 650 for like 6 months, and then it's up to 7 again, then 720, etc. And that's just the odd one. Most are not even saying that's going to happen. So hopefully that helps with your question. And then one more thing before real estate. So I want people to live their biggest dreams and to not, live in fear and what have you. So I like the next story because it was about a little girl. She's a year younger than me, and she grew up in Colombia. And when she was 17, she moved to Miami with her aunt, and she loved science. So she went to school for aerospace engineering. And she used to take 6 buses to get to school every day, and she cleaned homes to help, with her tuition and so forth. And now she works for NASA. She has a 45-person crew beneath her, and she was the first Hispanic woman to ever work for NASA. So I just like that, obviously, girls going after their dreams regardless of where they live, and just knowing they can conquer whatever they put their mind to. On a side note, she came with only $300. So yeah, I like that. Super cool lady, Diana, working for NASA. Okay, so now about real estate. And again, while I flip to my real estate section, if you guys want to nominate anybody for the April 1st giveaway, we give away $2,500 on the 1st of every month. You do not need any tie to Cripps Realty, which is what I own. You just have to live in Simcoe County. You don't even have to, the nominating person, but the person that you want to win has to live in Simcoe County, and they have to be over the age of 18. So you could send a video like I'm doing a video right now, or you could send a written submission to info@crippshomes.com. Again, info@crippshomes.com, and just tell us who you are and who they are and why you think they are deserving of winning. Okay. And then on the 1st of the month at 9 a.m. on this Facebook Cripps Realty, we will surprise someone. So last month we surprised one lady with $2,500. The month before we surprised 2 people with $1,250 each. So it just depends on the nominations if we decide for 1 or 2 people. Okay. So feel free to nominate whoever. So for real estate wise, so 2 days ago, Stats Canada gave their new statistics for February of jobs, and they had a much higher job strength than they expected, obviously because COVID and everything. So there were 259,200 more jobs in February alone in Canada, and it had fallen over 266,000 jobs the prior 2 months. But basically 259,200 came back out of 266,000. So almost 100% of the people that lost their job in the second wave have their jobs back. So that is great. And the job rate, like the people that have no jobs, fell by 1.2%. So 1.2% less people were without work. So now it's at 8.2% of Canadians are out of work. And this is the lowest it's ever been since the pandemic started. So 8.2%. So that is good. Things are looking great there. The majority of the jobs that came back were in Ontario and Quebec, and majority were in retail and in food services. And majority of them were lower rate, like lower wage, okay? And basically they said this is the majority of who's been hit the hardest. So 30.2% of people that lost their job during the pandemic were women between 15 and 24. And just so you know, since COVID started, 5.5 million people either lost their job or had their hours cut. And if you don't know, there's 38.4 million people in Canada. So 5.5 million of them, of the 38.4, either lost their job or had their hours cut. But again, like I said, almost 100% just in the last 2 months have got their job back who lost their job before, right? So 259,200 got their job back in the last month of the 2 months prior of the 266,000 that lost it. I know that's a lot of numbers, but anyways. So 103,000 in February, less people reported that they were out of their temporarily laid off job. And 49,000 people that said they had been permanently laid off now have a job again. So that's great. And people that before the pandemic were making $25 or more are actually making more money now. Basically, they showed all these graphs of if you were making this before or is that this or what have you, they're making more. And there was a recent article about 905 area code. So Hamilton's 905, Newmarket, Aurora, etc. is 905. So there was an article about, you know, the real estate bubble bursting in the 905 area code, and then people saying, is that going to happen? Is that then going to come to the 705 area code, which is where I reside and many of you live? So again, some people have said there might be a blip, but majority are saying there is not. But it's just, it can't continue to go up at the rate that it is. Like basically homes are selling now for 60,000 more than they were like a month or two ago. And they're selling 100 to 200,000 more than they were October, November, December of 2020, which is obviously insane. And to keep that up does not make sense. It can't continuously go up at that rate, which makes sense why they're thinking a burst. But again, now they're not even saying a burst. It might just be, you know, a slight adjustment. But even if it's not an adjustment, just instead of having all the bidding wars, and let's just say listing at 800, selling for $1 million, instead people are just going to list at $1 million and take 975 or 980. They just won't do the opposite. So it's just a change of strategy. What else was I going to say? Oh yeah. Some people are blaming the government for the crazy real estate boom, because obviously we have low interest rates, and they did a change for insured and uninsured mortgages, which made it easier for people to get mortgages than before. And so what is the highest now in the last 10 years is the amount of people, money that they owe on their mortgages. So some people are saying that that is not good. And other people are saying it's fine as long as you own a home, just because the homes are going up so fast in value in Ontario. But if you are a first time buyer, it's super hard to get in when you're competing against all of these people. So in Toronto, for example, because obviously what happens in Toronto spreads out into the outskirts, and we're only an hour from Toronto. So the average detached price in Toronto compared to the average condo in Toronto is now more than $1 million apart. So they're saying that people in Toronto, even if it's their second, third, fourth, fifth home in Toronto, now they can't afford the detached homes. So now they're going for the semi-detached homes in Toronto and the townhomes in Toronto and the condos in Toronto, which is forcing the first-time buyers to compete against them. And normally they don't have as deep as pockets as the people that have done it 2, 3, 4, 5 times and built up some equity. So then that's pushing them into our market, which is obviously fine for us, because then they come with deeper pockets than our local people here. And then basically everybody just moves. You know, you move half hour to an hour north and you get more bang for your buck. It's what happens. And the people cash out on what they've been doing so far if they already had a mortgage. If not, they just buy somewhere cheaper. So in February in 905 area, their average detached price was over 1.3 million. So it's 1.3 853, which is over 27.8% higher than it was February of 2020, and their average semi was up over 25%, 25.6 to be exact, for 932 and change. So to me, that's crazy for a semi-detached home for 932 and a detached for 1.3. That's their average. But again, it is not Toronto. The Toronto people are being pushed to there, and hence they are being pushed to us, which is upping our price crazy. So tons of locations went up over 30%, their average sales price compared to 2020. And I will say what areas that is in a little bit. So Canada's beat records month over month. So this is our 8th month in a row that Canada has beat records in real estate. So month over month, the average home price from February to January went up 6.6%. So sometimes I do local like Barrie Simcoe, other times I do Ontario, Canada, etc. Change it up. So right now we're obviously in Canada. I'm doing Canadian statistics, I mean. And then 39.2% more homes sold in February 2021 than they did in February 2020, okay? And the number of new homes listed is now up, so it's 15.7% more, but we still have a lack of inventory because there's way too many buyers. So even though there's 15.7% more homes in Canada, there is way more buyers than normal, so we're still lacking on inventory. The average Canadian sales price also jumped, so it went up over 25% since the same month in 2020. And only 15% of Canada has like a balanced market, and the rest is experiencing a seller's market, which again, it's supposed to for all of 2021. So when I said like whose has gone up, so there's some places in Ontario that's gone up more than 35% from February 2021 compared to February 2020. And those places are Woodstock, Cottage Country, and Tillsonburg. And I had to look up where Tillsonburg was, and it's between Hamilton and London. And then the places that have gone up 30 to 35% since February of 2020 is Barrie as number one, not number one, but like in the 30 to 35% increase. Same with Niagara, Bancroft, Grey Bruce, Owen Sound, Kawartha, London, North Bay, and Northumberland, which is between Oshawa and Belleville. So all of those places have gone up between 30 and 35% since last year. And then the places that have gone up 25 to 30% are Hamilton, Guelph, Cambridge, Brantford, Kitchener, Waterloo, Peterborough, and the Kawarthas. And then places that have got 20 to 25% gains over February of 2020 is Oakville and Ottawa. And then some places that haven't gained as much is Vancouver. They only went up less than 15%, as well as Mississauga only went up 15%. Same with Quebec, and same with Winnipeg. And then doing even worse is Victoria, Regina, and Saskatoon only went up also between 5 and 10%. Calgary and Alberta only went up 3.5%, and St. John's only went up 2.6%. The average home in Canada is now over $678,000, which is up more than 25% of same month in 2020. And CREA, which is the Canadian Real Estate Association, they think that over 700,000 homes will sell this year. So they're guessing 702,000 homes will sell. Thank you for all the love, Scotty, across Canada in 2021. And in 2020, there was just over 551,000 homes that sold. And this year, they think there'll be an extra 150,000 homes sold, bringing us to over 700,000 homes sold. And they also think the average sales price, like I mentioned before in Canada, will go up over 16%, okay? So like I said, we've had over 8 months of, beating records and so forth. Last month, for example, we sold a client a home. It was our buyer, not our seller. And they bought a beautiful cottage for $740,000. It was like 1,600 square feet, lovely dock, etc. Last night in Bracebridge, a lot, there was a cabin on it, but meanwhile it was gutted to the studs, no insulation, no electrical, no plumbing, etc. Just sold for $703,000. It's an hour and 10 minutes from Barrie. The other one was only 30 minutes from Barrie, and the other people got a full, I say cottage, but it was on the water, but it was actually a home on the water. So that's what I mean. Like, prices are going up so crazy. Like, just somebody that bought a month ago, and now they can't even, they're getting a lot, for that price. So it's crazy. Last month in Canada, over 58,000 homes sold. And then more locally, so in Barrie, in the last 7 days, there's been 95 new listings, 26 of those listings sold conditionally, 108 sold firm. So if you obviously add up 108 plus 26, that's more than 95. So that just means that it's gone into the week before's inventory. So all of the new listings sold, or maybe not all of them, and then they took some from the week before, but 108 sold firm, and there was only 95 new ones. So obviously some went into the week before. 23 people got possession of their home. 8 people decreased their price, and 4 people increased their price. And then Barrie and condos, in the last 7 days, there's been 11 new listings, 7 conditionally sold, 15 went firm. So again, there's only 11 new ones, but yet 15 went firm and 7 went conditional. So obviously 22, but there was only 11. So obviously going into the week before's inventory, again, showing our lack of inventory. 9 people got possession. And then in ESSA, we had 15 new listings, 18 sold, again, going into the week before's inventory. In Innisfil, there was 21 new listings, but 27 homes sold. Again, no inventory going to the week before. Oro had 14 new listings and 12 sold. And Springwater had 7 new listings. That was it. And 11 sold firm. Again, going into the prior week's inventory. I know it's a lot of numbers, but anyways. So the next question comes from Laura. So Laura said, I know you have a number of Airbnbs. How many months / weeks, etc. a year would you say your places are vacant? Thank you, Laura, for asking. To be honest, they're not even vacant a week. I'd say like a day over here, or 2 days over here, or 1 day over there. But I don't keep it at the same price all the time. So I always look the day before people check in. So I look in the morning. So let's just say it's Wednesday. I look who's checking in Thursday, and I send them, it's an automatic thing. I just send them the thing that says like, hello, you're checking in tomorrow. This is your Wi-Fi password. This is where you're staying. This is the lockbox, etc. And it tells them all of that. But if I look and tomorrow's Thursday and I look on the weekend and, you know, there's something that's not booked, let's just say it's booked for 400, or not booked, it's asking $450 a night, I'll lower it to $425. And then tomorrow, if it's not booked, I might lower it to $399 or $375 or what have you. So I'll lower and adjust it until it gets booked. I'll never like lower it to $25 a night or something. Obviously, like I have a bottom number that I'd rather it sit empty than rent it for that little, but I'll just lower it, because even if it rents for, you know, 3 days at $125 a night, that's still $375 that I didn't have if it just sat empty. So I will just keep lowering the price until it rents. And like I said, that's very rare that happens. And I'd say anywhere from 4 days to 9 days a year, my properties are vacant, and they're scattered throughout the year. Okay. So they're not vacant a lot. You just have to adjust your price when you need to. Okay, but thank you for asking, Laura. Next, we had, if anybody was like hard up for money in college or university or what have you, and they couldn't afford a car or what have you, there's a new program, and it's called On Point for College. And basically people volunteer their time, their car, their mileage, etc., and they drive students that have lower income to college or university. And there's one fellow named Paul, and he's been doing it for 8 years. He's 76, and he's put over 103,000 kilometers on his car. And he talks to the people. He asks them questions. He gives them advice, etc. Some of them have been driven around by him for like 4 years, and they call him Grandpa. So anyways, I just thought that was cute. He often helps them out with like their books, or they don't have money for food, or where they're staying on campus or whatever, the, you know, kitchen tap's broken or something, he fixes it. So I just think it's cute to always be helping others when you can. The next question comes from, first I had a mortgage reminder, and then I have a question. So mortgage reminder, again, on the first of every month, we do a $2,500 giveaway. We pay somebody's rent or mortgage. So feel free to send your nominations to info@crippshomes.com. The next question comes from Bonnie and Aurelia. I felt pretty drained since this whole pandemic and just want to be back to normal. Do you have any pointers for having more energy? Thank you, Bonnie, for asking. I would use like better words for you and not say like I'm trapped, or I'm stuck at home, or I'm dying, not going on vacation, or I'm so sick of being in jogging pants or whatever, or not going to the store or what have you, and just say like I'm safe at home. I'm loving seeing my family more. I always wanted to feel like I was retired, or feel like I was on vacation all the time, and not having to work as much, or having that extra time to take that online course that I wanted or what have you. It's just the words that you say to yourself. And if you can do some kind of routine, like whether it's getting up in the morning, going for a run or a jog or meditating or something, and then rewarding yourself. So if you say like, hey, when I finish this online course, then I'll have a Zoom dinner with my friend, or hey, when I, run 5 days in a row, then I will blah, 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 whatever. If I know it's odd, but we're almost like little kids and we like the reward aspect. So hopefully you find that helpful, and thank you for asking, Bonnie. The next things is about medications. So obviously not everything is covered. And so there's a new app, not a new app, but an app. And basically they've decided that because of the pandemic, December 18th, they gave away 1 million of their shares, which was, because it's a publicly traded company, that was basically over $40 million. And in 2021, they're going to give more than $5 million in free medication to people. If they are of need and struggling, they have to show their income, etc. So that I thought was lovely of them. Next question comes from Jason and Becca in Stainer. So Jason and Becca, we have a small business and have been maintaining it throughout the pandemic, but would really like to buy a home with a commercial space downstairs and a space for us to live upstairs. How can we get our foot in the door? Thank you, Jason and Becca, for asking. I don't know if you have any money as a down payment at all, or if maybe you could move in with your parents for a year or two and save, or maybe you could get a roommate wherever you are and save some money, or maybe you pay $2,200 a month and you could move to somewhere $1,400 a month and save some money. Maybe you have 2 cars, you could go down to 1 car. Maybe one of you could get a side, an extra job, etc. I don't know how much money you guys need to save. Maybe you guys could get a co-signer so you could get in, ahead of time. Maybe you don't have the greatest credit, so you could start to build up your credit over the next year or two and make sure you're always paying your credit card on time, your TELUS bill, etc., and boosting your credit, and also try not to jump around jobs a lot. I know you have your own, business, but I don't know if you also have another job, because lenders just don't like when people jump around jobs a lot, okay? So hopefully that helps, and you can help save, before you make that purchase. And you could purchase sooner than later, depending on, again, your savings. The next thing is, I know that a lot of people don't like to sit on the sidelines. Especially in the pandemic, a lot of people have been feeling like they're bored and what have you. There's a man, he's 93, and he's retired from the Air Force, and he also doesn't like sitting stagnant. So he decided to whittle walking sticks, and he was selling them at the side of the road, and he made $600 the first weekend, and he donated it all to a local food bank where he lives in Ohio. And then since then, so he's been doing it for almost a year, he's donated over $16,000 to the local food bank, which was over 40 tons of food that they gave away, which obviously I love that. So anyways, that is all from me. Be safe not to one another. Be safe. Be kind to one another. Don't be afraid to go after your dreams, and have an amazing rest of your day and week. Thanks, Scotty. Bye.